All right, we now proceed with the next session titled Interacting with Support and Common Implementation Mistakes by an experienced manager who has demonstrated the history of working in the computer software industry and is currently the senior team manager of Sitecore Malaysia. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together. Welcome on stage, Mr. Maxim Savelyev.
Thank you, guys. It's really a big pleasure for me to participate in the user group here. And while it's still the first visit to India for me, I hope it would be not the last one, and we will meet again. The interesting things for me, actually, my presentation being put to the second day seems to partially take most of the ones which we had on the days before. And since I do remember that a huge part of our auditory is business and tech altogether, it's a little bit challenging to compose a presentation that would delight both parties, but I will give it a try. Can the ones who have medical relatives somewhere raise a hand? Do we have any? We have one. I'm safe, thank you. That's not because I'm gonna faint into shock, but that might happen. The problem is that for the most user support duties, like any other proficiency, occupancy, whatever, it leaves a huge imprint on the person. And for me, when I deal for the last 11 years with the Sitecore support team, that is imprinted quite heavily. The humor might be a little bit switched, but don't take that personally. It's more about composed on what I see on a daily basis and how and what kind of things I have to feel from time to time and fix from time to time. My past public speaking experience for the largest audience is probably like 30-35 people in a war room over the Skype trying to figure out why the bank software has an outage for the past week and what to do with that. That was a little bit scary, and I believe such a lovely auditory would be a little bit easier to present to. So let's maybe go a little bit forward. Yeah, this is my picture. I like it better. My Skype guides told me you're a little bit scary over there. I like it because I'm less fat. And the local food and some delights even make it of a more concern for me. But that's it. I started with Sitecore long ago. 2007 when I was a student. And that was an interesting challenge as a half-day job to figure out what's going on and how to help the customers. Over that journey, I've took partially technical duties, partially managerial ones, but for the past few years, I'm mostly focused on coordinating high-profile escalations, what to do when the things are on fire and how to deal with that. While different titles and different positions have been mentioned over there, the main responsibility I have over the past many years is just to make the balls rolling. Whether it is on a low-level tech, whether it is some kind of integration call when we have to deal with multiple people being involved, it's still the same. We just have to make it work, and this is a philosophy we have in the Sitecore PSS. That's the main challenge. I'm not sure whether we're going to be sharing the presentations afterwards. I will ask Akshay on that one. Probably we can. So here will be the connections points on LinkedIn, SharePoint, and email. And I will share probably some business cards afterwards for the ones who need that and explain why we might need to connect. So, product support is an integral part of the team which is delivering to delight our customers on successful implementations. The main challenge we have in the modern life, it just have to work. Disregarding the strange specific requirements the customer, the partner might have, security restrictions, GDPR, whatever other difficult abbreviations you might imagine that prevent us to just make it easy and make it work. We work closely with different teams in a region and overall worldwide to make it running as a single unit, which might help you on whatever questions, but still Sitecore support doesn't do everything, as you might imagine. We work closely with sales team when it comes to understand whether the requirements can be fulfilled. We have a beautiful technical consulting team who helps customer to achieve challenges when either architecture or the scale of the implementation is not of a typical size. I highly recommend you to work with this team if you have a project when the requirements are a little bit scary either from the scale or from the architecture, or you just don't have an idea how to make it run at all. They are nice guys, and I will tell you afterwards how to connect with them. And for sure, we work closely with the product team both ways, as providing feedback from the fields how it goes, because you are the only one who knows how that works actually in fields. Also, asking them to address the critical issues, critical bugs, whatever critical you might have, and taking that from them to share with you. If you would consider the responsibility zones of the squares of those circles, you might imagine which circle actually grows when things get on fire. If you're not, I will tell you afterwards, but it is a little bit in the center. Where the support team can help you directly when we don't need to reach anyone else. So the scope of support, the document no one likes, which has been published on the knowledge base, it states a few things that we can help with. The bugs in the supported projects. Whenever you have Sitecore 4.3 and you have a bug over there, excuse me, I can give you a good advice how to migrate, but unfortunately I cannot help you to fix it. Whenever we have an issue in the documentation of a kind, it does not exist, it has a mistake, or it's just not clear to what's going on, just go to support, we can figure it out. Whenever our services, for example, IP geolocation, Sitecore Managed Cloud, App Center, email delivery, anything of that doesn't work, you're welcome on the support portal. And whenever you need anything, what Victor have described one session before about the service catalog and all our services, we are also a good point to reach. Whoa. Yeah. There are a few things where we cannot help, but even in case if you come to us, we can tell you where to go, or we will just do it and provide you with a result. Whenever you wish to buy something, whenever you need to figure out how your licensing works, that's a good question for sales. I'm not sure if we have Himanshu still here or he has run away, but for India region, he is a primary point of contact for that one. The technical consulting team, they are working on a little bit different basis. They are not included as a package of the maintenance program, and they work on demand. But that's a great team who can help to solve the challenges I have never seen before. They have a huge in-field experience with custom implementations, integration, making things working of that scale, which will never work without them. Yes, they will take some additional fee on their services, but from my personal experience, it is way cheaper to work with them at the start of the huge project rather than work with us after the project is failed. Believe me, the difference is huge. Locations. The origin of the support team in Sitecore is in the Western Europe, specifically in Ukraine. And this is the team which is the alma mater for all the Sitecore support team. The Ukrainian office has started in 2004, and currently it has around 4 dozens of engineers dealing with most of the areas in the Sitecore support domain. After that, we have created a nice office in Kuala Lumpur, where I am from, and we have 2 dozen of engineers working in different directions. Also, we have an office in Ottawa, Canada, to cover the North American time zone. Effectively, with the current implementation of the Sitecore support location, we are able to provide 24/7 coverage for any specific area the customer requires. This is a result of we have to provide the necessary coverage for the managed cloud offering, as well as we have to fulfill our contractual agreements about the 24/7 support package. If we are talking about the packages and what are the difference, if I would say it not from the sales point of view, but if I would tell how I see that from the support point of view. We do strongly recommend 24/7 support package when we are talking about a project that requires high availability. The target SLAs which are being defined in the standard support package, they most likely do not satisfy the requirements. For example, if you have banking organization, if you have sales included in your project, or similar things. This definitely requires 24/7 package. The standard support package more fit the development stage, or if you have a very skilled team with enough knowledge in the domains that are going to be taken. Just to make it a little bit clearly, currently in the support team, we have around 65 domain areas to be supported. Definitely there are some legacy projects, like I'm not quite sure if anyone remembers such thing as a Sitecore Foundry, where SXA is somewhat similar on that one, but totally different, but we still have to keep the support for the existing customers. I hope no one still uses Foundry, but who knows. Support access, and how can you get and join our lovely club? One of the first steps, I believe, was completed for most of the participants yesterday, when you have obtained the Sitecore certification, excuse me. And now we speak the same language, if we are saying that roughly. If you have your profile been registered, and I believe you need to have it before you actually can acquire the certification, and you work with a Sitecore partner or the Sitecore customer with an active maintenance program, you're welcome to the support portal. Whenever you face the issue which cannot be solved by ninjas, just introduced previously, you can connect with the Sitecore support clan of those skilled magicians in dark arts who can try to figure out what the hell is going on. Probably 20 to 25% of the issues we are facing are the extreme corruptions being spelled on you by the competitors, because they don't have a reasonable explanation afterwards. It's just issues like it doesn't work and it starts working afterwards. All the rest are mostly being on the technical basis, which can be investigated to the root cause, figured out, and fixed afterwards. But yeah, that's still not for all issues over there. Warning, attention, alarma, whatever other kind of things. Please do not share your Sitecore support accounts. Whenever we face the cases of the support accounts being shared between the certified developer and non-certified development, we have a flag that the confidential data which is likely present in each and every Sitecore support ticket might be compromised. We don't want that, and we don't need that, and our standard practice is to suspend such accounts. It might be a little bit difficult afterwards to get it back, so I strongly recommend to keep the account only for the one who had a certification for this one. I had a few unpleasant experiences over the past few years when the confidential data for the healthcare organization was at risk due to sharing of the support accounts, and please let's avoid those unpleasant talks on this one. Escalations. This is a relatively new concept for the Sitecore support. While it existed in reality since the foundation of the Sitecore organization, we have a formal thing of that one. It has also been stated on the knowledge base article that, yeah, we have it. And when to use it, it depends on the case. So for the most obvious things is when you have a ticket which is running for a while and you believe that something is going wrong. This may happen, and we reserve this escalation process to address similar cases. The rest of the points when you should escalate actually depends on what is the business requirement. Probably we would consider a valid escalation request if you have an outage of a demo that has to be passed to the client tomorrow and it doesn't work. We will try our best to arrange the escalation engineer to address that one. The only thing I would like to ask, please decide early that you need that and tell us in advance that we have a deadline on the day XYZ and we need to address it. Because otherwise, when you come and say, sorry guys, we need you to fix this yesterday, it's pretty much possible I wouldn't find enough resources to address that. Hope that's not a fire alarm. Okay. Another important thing when we're talking about the escalation probably this won't someone escalating something. We do not accept escalations if there are massive delays at the customer side. What I mean, if we're talking about Dan and Ben, if they decided on Monday they need to escalate the issue regarding the outage of the site, and they have not provided even a basic data to the Sitecore support till Friday, it is very difficult for me to consider that I have to leave my engineers working over the weekend to fix the issue. Sorry. If they then decided to file the ticket and then went for a vacation on 5 weeks without even letting know that that's going to happen, that also would not be considered as an escalation. And I believe any sharing the common sense will do the same. Another important thing when you file support tickets and when you ask the support team to help is to clearly understand that there are different regions where support locations are situated. The common best practice is to file the support request to the region where the resources who work on those problems are situated. I mean, like if you have a customer from North America, but you have the development team in India, it doesn't really make sense to file the support ticket for the North American team. You will have a delay of 12 hours or so, and that's not going to be effective. Actually, India is quite in a unique place. It's right in the middle between the Asia-Pacific team and European team, so you have a quite nice opportunity to select the one you like. We start in the Asia-Pacific team, we start probably, well, that's not probably, that's actually really, we start 2.5 hours before the working day in India starts, and European team starts 6 hours after we start. So either we will come earlier and start addressing your tickets, or you will have to wait until European team comes. I strongly encourage you not to split support requests related to the single project between multiple teams. There is no profit from having 3 engineers working on 3 tickets for a single project. Why? These engineers do not share the context. And pretty much you might face with a case when the input from one engineer contradicts with the input from another engineer. If you have it put to the same region, it's most likely all the basic data will be shared between the engineers, content will be shared, and I and Victor, as a part of the escalation team, will spot early that we have a particular project which is having 16 active support requests. Probably something is going wrong over there, and we need to change the collaboration model and figure out how we can address that project. This happens very often, and we reach the account manager to figure out how we can build a more effective way on addressing such cases. Whenever we have an escalation, the expectation from our side is there is a point of contact at the partner or the customer side who is collaborating with us depending on the model. Whenever we have a 24/7 support, we can run it around the clock, and we expect you pass it among your teams as well. Whenever we have a standard support and we work only during the Asia-Pacific or European business hours, we expect to get updates in a real time. For the very scary cases when the solution is down, we're happy to set up a live conversation between the support engineer and the team who is responsible for maintenance, development, whatever thing, just to make it running. If we don't get such a level of collaboration, it's slowing down the resolution, and unfortunately not much since how we can help them. So, a kind of list how is the best to approach the problem. First is select the right unit who can help with that, whether it would be technical consulting, sales, or whether it would be a support team, and you need to file it on the support portal. It's very important to share as much details as you have about the issue. I don't have enough fingers to show you how many tickets I have seen stating a single line, Sitecore doesn't work for me, and that's it. You can imagine the reply. It would be very polite. I would reply, so I'm sad to hear about it. Could you please tell me what is going on? It would be another round trip. I don't know how soon I will spot such a request, but things happen. Kieran just shown a good set of the support tools, and I encourage you to get acquainted with what we have over there. I don't remember if I have seen Sitecore package generator there, probably not, but that's an important tool which you can find on the marketplace, if I'm not mistaken. And this gives the entire overview of all the diagnostics data the support engineer might need to investigate the issue. Definitely, we prefer having direct access to the problematic environment, but yeah, we all know that sometimes even the development team doesn't have the full access to the environment. So yeah, that's a minimal basic which can help us to figure out what's going on. If you share that we are happy and we don't start asking stupid questions, excuse me, like where is the log which can show me what's going on? Where is the config? And we have one config, we don't have another config. Let's don't do that. Just drop off the support package. Whenever you have a support ticket, please follow up on that one. 10 to 15% of the support ticket don't get any reply from the customer side at the end of the day, and we don't even have an idea whether the problem is solved or not. Yeah, sometimes they get back with an escalation after 4 weeks of inactivity, but that's a different story. Whenever you have filed the support ticket, please follow up on it. Whenever the support engineer asks for something and asks to apply some actions to the solution, please do that or explain why you cannot do that. It becomes one way or another, but if that is not done, Sitecore support is not doing anything after we have supplied an update in the ticket. There is a thing, I don't probably have a slide for that one, the current workflow step. It clearly states who we are waiting for. Either we are waiting for Sitecore, no worries for you, it's on our side, or we are waiting for the client. If the ticket lays in the waiting for client side for 3 weeks, it's automatically closing, and there is no technical way for me or even for my boss to reopen that support ticket. You will need to file a new one. Please don't do that. If you have a designated PRC at your side working with the Sitecore support team, please do not try to solve everything at once. It doesn't work that way. You can file 16, 15, whatever amount of tickets, but it's unrealistic to fix all at once. Designate the priority. We need this as the most urgent. We need that as the next one. We will do that. We will find the right engineer to address it, but everything at once doesn't work. Sorry. And escalation as a final step, make sure you need that. We can arrange that, but make sure that it is required. It is a little bit elevated mode of the support investigation, and it requires way more efforts from the escalation engineer to deal on that one. And we have a very limited resource of such amount of such resources. Let's make it wisely. And yeah, we expect the right collaboration from the client side. If this chain is being executed successfully, the support ticket is solved. Is it the end of the story? No, it's not. I don't like the surveys as well. And for example, when I buy from some shop and they try to sell me another bag, I'm not very happy with that. But I'm very much keen to hear about the support experience. We have a system which sends the satisfaction survey to the creator of the support ticket after the support ticket has been closed. Please do not consider that as being just an automatic system that puts it somewhere else and no one checks it. We do. And whenever we face with a case when something went wrong, I personally follow up on such surveys just to figure out whenever it is a mistake from our side, whenever it is something about the expectations, or it's a combination of those. The screenshot with that green dot over there is taken just accidentally. I definitely appreciate such evaluations, but it's not something that I expect to have in every survey. Whenever you face any troubles, whenever there are frictions during the support interaction, please put that to the support comments. That's the only way we can realistically address those in the support teams worldwide. And it's really a huge benefit for us to talk and explain, we need that, but we get this. There is no other way to transform if we don't talk to each other. Just in case, if we will be sharing this, and I can, the list of the typical questions, how to fix a number of things on the support portal and how to do all the specific things, it is there on knowledge base. It is a good site with a lot of useful technical, processual, and organizational advices. So I encourage all the guys who work with the Sitecore support and Sitecore itself to check that from time to time and find some good things over there. And very good things. The second part of the presentation would be about the implementation issues. And I will try to explain a little bit more on what I mean by that. But before we can proceed to that part of the presentation, here is a disclaimer. The story behind is very much real, and the attendee consideration is advised, as such facts might be a little bit shocking, so please take yourself. While we have the support requests and we fix them, or we don't fix them because we just don't hear from the other side of the channel, we try to categorize those requests to build a better understanding on what is the root cause for this specific request. Whenever this is a bug, either existing or which is fixed in a future version, or this might be something about the documentation. It doesn't exist or it has a mistake or whatever. We categorize such requests with a root cause. And I will share the data I have for the past fiscal year, what is going on over there. Just to maybe explain it a little bit from the bottom. That might be not a secret, but we do have requests about the missing functionality. Whenever the customers or partners require some functionality not available out of the box, we have it there. Cloud service requests are the things Victor have mentioned. Out of scope questions is when we cannot provide that assistance within the support line, but for the most of those, we have an advice how to do that. Documentation requests, as you see the dynamic, they are going some cut, because, well, we try to work in that direction. That's a fact. We do have some bugs. Well, as any software product, we do have those, and we work to reduce the amount of these. I didn't have enough space for slides to maybe dig deeper about that, but the bug category actually aggregates the fixed bugs, which are fixed in the later versions, the bugs news, which we haven't seen them before, and the bugs which are known but not fixed yet. Definitely not every bug can be fixed right after it has been spotted, so we have a number of categories. The most scary thing, as for me, is related to the implementations. And we see that from quarter to quarter, the amount of support requests related to the implementation specific, they are growing, and they are growing a little bit too fast, I would say. If we keep the same pace, and for example, in a year, I come back and show the slide where the implementation bar is even larger, that effectively means that things are going wrong. The client and the partner side is not having the right enablement, and this is something that we have to work on. I will share a little bit more insight regarding the implementation things and try to advise just a basic things, what not to do and what to do. But unfortunately, I would not manage to cover the entire platform. That would take me a week of speaking, and that's not something realistic that we can get. So, oh, that's the wrong button. So the details about the implementation for the past 3 quarters, because 4 just don't fit the slide well. We do initially have this implementation as a category, and we are trying to slice the chunks from it to just have a better understanding. So yeah, at the beginning of times, most of the things were there. But with time, we have dedicated a few other categories, which are about the configuration of the underlying infrastructure. about the custom code or customization of the controls, whatever else, and about the product configuration. That's not a secret, and we know that configuration of Sitecore 8 version sometimes is a little bit tricky, let's name it like this, especially when it comes to a scaled environment. We are not satisfied with the spreadsheets you might have seen about which configs has to be enabled where, and that's one of the pieces, and we have this already changed a lot in Sitecore 9. The role-based configuration is one step to address that, but still, even after we have put into release this state, and when we have quite a few of the customers who work with Sitecore 9, the problem about the product configuration is still growing. This is something that has to be addressed on both sides, the Sitecore and the client side, as none single party can fix that entirely, and we are working on that one from our side. From the client side, I can advise, well, apart from basic reading the documentation and not forgetting address that, it's not that very much what I can address and how to advise on this one, but a good thing like working change management system is a thing that saves a lot of time. This has been tested multiple times and brings a lot of benefits. The custom code and customization area is the most difficult for the Sitecore to address because this is essentially about custom code being implemented in a way that does not comply with the system, which brings errors, bugs, outages, or whatever else. The infrastructure is about more configuring underlying servers, so I believe it's not that much affecting the Azure because we have quite a standardized environment over there, but when it comes to on-premises or configuring AWS environments with all those load balancer sessions and all that kind of stuff, this is what comes to this area. I will share a little bit more for the specific areas and how to address things that could bring your system to a trouble, but unfortunately, I would not manage to explain all the things. Platform. By platform here, we mean the Sitecore CMS as such and scaling it to the topology you might need. The hardware is a fundamental thing for any implementation, and what I do usually see when it comes to high-profile escalations regarding the performance issues. Very often, we have a client who has a hardware like this, expects it to work like the entire data center, but in fact have tested it at the best case on the laptop. Sorry, it doesn't work. There are very specific requirements how the hardware should be configured and which CPU, RAM, disk drives, whatever kind of stuff should be there to make the system working stable and predictable. The only good advice to fix this, apart from managing the expectations, what I cannot do, is to share an advice on how to plan the hardware. First, you need to estimate the load. The very bad thing happens when the success of the project kills the project. When you go to the release, you make it publicly available, and the amount of visitors just kills you. That's the most horrible thing that can happen. So you have to estimate the load, at least a basic estimation. Do the load test at least twice of that capacity and see what is the bottleneck. The bottleneck not always is CPU or RAM. I have seen multiple cases when the bottleneck is network, and the worst bottleneck is the understanding of the client how that works. After this, you have to evaluate the results and build an action plan. What's gonna happen if I have this load? A very live story I have worked maybe 6 months ago. One of the clients we have is a huge Chinese hotel network, which works only in China. Any Chinese here? Am I gonna leak some secrets? No? Okay. That's good. What they had? They have created a project on the Sitecore 7.2. And the development cycle took them as much time that we already had Sitecore 8.2 in the release state, but still they decided we're not going to upgrade. They have released with 4 CD servers, which were dead right 1 hour after they have released. The clever decision is, okay, we have 4 servers dead, let's add another 4 servers. They added 4 servers, they are still dead. They added another 4 servers, and the story has ended up having 32 CD servers. Before they have get to this point, their CPU and RAM was maxed on all servers. When they got to 32 servers, their network was maxed, and they didn't have any CPU or RAM load, as well as they didn't have even a single page being rendered. The investigation for this thing took maybe 3 to 5 days just to figure out what is going on. The scaled setup had Lucene engine as the index provider. Each of the server had their own set of indexes, and each CD server was very happy to re-index each and every page they have published. Upon getting 32 servers, their network just didn't manage to serve the request to the SQL server for each. And at the end of the day, well, they had to migrate. A point to note from here, whenever you have a scaled environment, Lucene is not your choice. Solr or Azure Search. That's the only thing that would work. Architecture. Consider a little bit switched support mind who most of the time see some very specific architectures. But from my point of view, the only thing in the world that is not as it was designed but still stable is this pizza tower. Most of the times when we get to the solution, I see something like this. So initially it was very nice, it was very full, but every piece of the customization pull another brick out of this tower. Do you know what is the end of this game? It falls. Not much sense how we can address that unless you don't have a working change management, and unless you don't have a good plan on what's gonna happen if some specific piece of the system gonna get broken. You need to have a very clear understanding on what are the dependencies of your system. By default, you have SQL, you have Mongo, if we are talking about Sitecore 8.2. What else do you have? You have Solr. What else do you have? Do you have emailing? Do you use social? All these things can broke. What's gonna happen afterwards? Wrong button. So yeah, the essential part of this one is to figure out what we gonna do if XYZ falls. What you gonna do if your Solr server is dead? Do you have Solr Cloud? What's gonna happen if your CM server is down? Do you have a backup one? Do you have the availability options to deal with this? Scaling strategy is another important piece of this one, but scaling strategy does not mean stacking more servers on top of the existing ones. I have just explained you how that worked, and I have a dozen of similar cases when adding more servers make it worse. Before you add any resource, before you replace any part of the system, please figure out, with our help or yourself, what is a bottleneck. Very often, the most difficult situations, the most difficult issues are being explained by the trivial things. The one thing I have personally, which I cannot be proud of, and it is from my junior ages, we had the release of Sitecore 6.3. It is the first version that supported scaling. And I had a customer who came to me like, we have multiple CD servers, we publish the data, and we don't see refresh on the other side. So there are no changes. It took me around 2 months to do that and this. The end of the story was event queues on the servers were disabled. The very trivial configuration change in one line to replace true to false made it working. Multiple stories of very similar things happen when the documentation is not being followed to the end. For example, when it goes to the upgrade guides. It's a long document. It has 3 dozens of steps. A lot of customers are very, very diligent. They follow each one, and the solution works for them. But some people try to optimize the things that cannot be optimized, unfortunately. And for example, execute step 1, 5, and 7. Come to the support afterwards, and we start figuring out, okay, your database schema is not updated. Your Solr server address has not been set. This took time. We are happy to assist with this one, but that's your customer who pays for that. The caching. My image here is way less nice compared to what Kieran have shown, but I will try to add a little bit more. The connection between database and Sitecore server as such is the most critical one from the data point of view. So when we are talking about the data caches arrow, it has a huge amount of data running back and forth. If you don't have large enough data caches, it slows down your solution regarding the data access. For example, you have a render in which need to iterate over 10 items, over 10,000 of items, whatever. It means that effectively Sitecore need to have all those 10, hundreds, 10,000s of items in the cache to address them. When Sitecore doesn't have enough space in the Sitecore cache, it will start the eviction, which effectively means the oldest items will be thrown away. If that doesn't work, the random items will be thrown away. It is cheaper to give Sitecore enough place there than wait for the SQL server to respond on each item. The output caches is a group of way smaller caches, but they affect the performance of the entire solution even more. If you have a page which takes you 5 minutes to render for the first time and you do not cache the output of that page, you are doing something wrong. On top of the output caches, there is such a good thing as a CDN. Just maybe a week ago, I have received a request to review the requirements, and the solution was pretty simple. So we were asked whenever Sitecore is capable to have 5 to 7 million items of a data, whenever the single tenant mode could handle something like 140 sites being hosted on the SXA accelerator, and whenever having just a single VM server is possible for such implementation. Well, I can easily tell you that 7 million of items for Sitecore, it's nothing if you have a right scaling. 140 sites for SXA, go on. Having a single VM server depends. How much content afters do you have? How much content do you put to the solution, and what is the speed of that content authoring process? Whenever you are happy with few content afters, putting not that many data over here, go on, that's gonna work. If you plan to have a worldwide architecture with multiple countries and multiple languages and content afters working from multiple countries, no, you need a different content strategy. You need a different scaling strategy. You definitely need more CM servers. As a very simple, rough explanation on that one, consider you have like 18 to 20 content authors per CM server. Sorry. This is somewhat a balanced value. Whenever you have less, well, okay. Whenever you have more, they might start experiencing performance problems. The question, where do I take this data from? Anyone knows? There is a good document being published on doc.sitecore.net, and the name for the document is Sitecore Performance White Papers. It is a single root of the truth when you need to evaluate and build your architecture. We have various implementations being tested, and we have provided an average evaluations on what's gonna work. If you have a very different architecture compared to that one, probably at some point you might start facing the performance issues. If you are compliant with that one, it is very unlikely that's gonna happen to you. What else we have? We have analytics. At the early days of my work at Sitecore, when we just had CMS and we had, I don't even remember the right name. It was Online Marketing Suite, the first version of the Sitecore Analytics, and afterwards we had it Digital Marketing Suite. I would be very honest, at those point of time, I don't even thought that we will have analytics running as we have it now. But things changes, and currently the analytics engine is pretty much comparable to the content engine. Now it's probably time to think about the commerce. The commerce is very similar to that analytics, and in years it will be even larger. But analytics is still an important part of the planning your solution. If you don't need analytics data, just don't enable that. You will save a huge chunk of resources. Not that many implementations that don't really use it, but they are still there. If you plan to use analytics, plan it wisely. You need separate servers to work with it. You need processing and reporting. You need to monitor whether your processing server is actually capable to handle the load which comes out of the CD servers. CD servers also to be taken into consideration because when you have analytics, those servers have an additional overhead of job to be done, and it has to be considered. A few small advices on what to do and what not to do when you have analytics. Beware of the custom facets. That's a thing which looks very nice. It can get you additional data to whenever you wish, but it brings a lot of overhead. I have seen a customer who decided that a very good thing would be to put into the custom facets the content of the agreement with the client he has when he signs some kind of NDA or something like this. They ended up with the contacts being around 25 to 30 megabytes each. And you can imagine how happy the Sitecore system is to retrieve this data from the MongoDB, deserialize that, and initiate in the inside structures. Don't do that. If you can live with the standard facets, you are golden. If you need custom facets, think twice what you put there. Don't put too much. Don't put the complex data which you cannot handle afterwards. All that's gonna be one of the killers of the system. Ensure that unwanted or maybe wanted visitors, but very noisy visitors, are not taken into considerations when you collect the analytics data. Probably some implementations might need records about the bots, search engines, and all that kind of stuff, but most of those don't need that. And I have a few examples when the customer came to us, like, we have 50 GB analytics data in just 2 months. Okay, let's dig in what's going on. And 95% of the requests and the data which has been recorded in the analytics engine is about search. It was Google, Yahoo, whatever. The names of the spiders I don't even remember because the list is too long. We started digging deeper what's going on. The bot filtering is not enabled. Okay, another simple setting which saves a huge of space, a lot of performance, and other kind of stuff. The data. Don't capture more than you need. If the decision is to be a little bit greedy, and like we need all the analytics data which comes to our site from whatever customer, well, prepare a little bit elevated infrastructure for this one, because it will grow very fast. Another problem will come when the processing server has to handle that, and to build the right reports. And at the end of the day, you figure out that, well, 90% of the data I have is not what I need. But it's a little bit tricky to remove the data you don't need from the MongoDB. Analytics Database Manager might help you partially, but sorry, it's not supported. A bit more. Search. Search is the essential part of the Sitecore platform and the experience platform as such. And those early days when a simple Lucene indexes could fix everything and help a lot, they're gone. The typical solution on the Sitecore platform is millions of items in different languages and different versions. So indexing is an important part which has to be planned separately. How are you going to utilize that? Which data you need to index and what you go to search. While it's not exactly related to the search, please make a photo of this slide and put it on every table of the Sitecore developer you have. Do not use fast queries in production. Never, ever. Every fast query is a direct request to the SQL Server. I have seen dozens of implementations when a huge clusters of SQL Server lay dead because there are multiple requests to pages. A single page request issues 5 dozens of fast queries, and the SQL Server just say, sorry guys, I cannot handle this. No. The Microsoft support wouldn't help there. They cannot do anything. There are just too many jobs to be done. The very simple thing, you have a code base, you know there are fast queries, replace them with Sitecore queries. While there is still some difference in the syntax, that's a very different thing. But if you plan to use Sitecore queries, please ensure that you have enough caches. Because when the query is being executed, all the data has to be processed by the Sitecore instance, and all that data essentially has to be in the cache. If the data is not in the cache, well, you go to the SQL Server, not that many things change compared to the fast query. Cache the search results. It doesn't make sense to run the same search query multiple times. If you have a CD server, the only thing that might change the content at your site is publishing. Just hook in clearing the search result cache there, and you will save a lot of work to be done by the search engine. This is especially critical when you are working with Azure Search, because that's a third-party service you have to address. You can have your Solr very close to your installation, but you cannot have the same for Azure. Anyway, the network latency will play a huge role there. Don't be like this kid. Don't search for everything what you can search and just select the first result from that query. It doesn't make sense. The network and Sitecore caches will be your bottleneck. Whenever you need top 5 articles mentioning the specific policy, insurance policy that you want to render on your site, put that into the search query. The filtering will be done on the search server level, and you will have only 5 results. Again, I have multiple examples when there are 15,000 of results being returned from the search service, and there is the last entry in the render, and just select the first one. That's not very effective. And don't forget about the specifics of the search providers. While we have a unified code base and all of those inherit the basic providers, they are still different. If you have a XP0 single, if I'm not mistaken, implementation, Lucene, no problem, it works there. You have a single standalone instance, it doesn't need Azure or Solr. If you have more than one server, you need a centralized search. Live in hopes that Lucene would save you because we just need it for a very small amount of servers, and 2 servers will live with Lucene indexes. Still, gonna be crushed very soon when you start receiving inconsistent search results. Don't do that. It's unrealistic. It's proven to bring so much headache. So just don't do that. And don't forget about the latency. The Solar might be very close. The Azure search is a little bit far from you. It has some limitations on how to use each other, but just keep this in mind. A little bit kind of summary, because we are short on time and the other slides unlikely would fit in. How not to step in any trouble. Ensure that you have a basic planning on what would be the architecture of your solution, and please dedicate time for the load testing. The ticket like we have just released yesterday and our solution is down because of multiple requests. I have seen too many of those, and I hope you won't be filing those again. If the solution does not pass the load test, it's unlikely to pass the load test from the customers, and the only difference there, whether you have an angry customer because you have not released in time, or you have all the angry customers of your customer who cannot check out on the site. That's a little bit different story. Plan the scaling strategy in advance in terms of the scaling is not stacking servers. Scaling is building a very specific plan on what's gonna happen if my specific resource is overconsumed. My Solar is overconsumed, CD servers like CPU are overconsumed, or my email send out is not that fast enough. That's very different since they are to be addressed differently and separately. Have a working change management system. I would probably put it on the first point whenever you have anything. If you cannot revert your solution to the point of time when it was stable, even the best Sitecore oracles and black magicians will not help you there. It doesn't work like this. And I strongly encourage you to involve Sitecore technical consulting group when you have a project of a large scale, or when your team just doesn't have enough experience in the domain you're gonna employ. Whenever it is SXA, commerce, cloud, whatever else. I couldn't miss a chance when I talk to all of you to have some advertising. We are currently looking for a new hire in Kuala Lumpur office of a Japanese capable engineer. I know it might look a little bit interesting to search for a Japanese speaker engineer here in India, but I had quite a few interviews. So whenever you have a good friend who is up for challenges, just refer him. And that would be a solid addition to our team. We also have a number of engineering positions in Kuala Lumpur, and you can find all of them on our site. So whenever you have even better friends to do that, forward them there. I wanna end up my presentation by this one, just to stress a single thing. We stand together with our customers and partners. No one wins if we have a non-successful project, and that's gonna be the headache for everyone. Whenever we work together and collaborate on the most efficient ways on delivering the support services, we're gonna win together. And that's a good time for questions, and we have a bit of time to spend on that. Am I lucky enough not to have questions?
Anybody? We just have time for just 2 questions. All right. So,
if you can get me the ID of the ticket, I can do whatever you wish. Okay, guys, thank you for the time. Oh, I see the question.
Yeah, one question. There's a lot of analysis you have done about all the kinds of
Could you
tickets.
please speak a little bit louder?
Okay. There's a lot of analysis that you have done on the kinds of tickets that come. Is there a wiki where all this information goes so that even before we come to you, we could see and do some pre-work?
The data we analyze at our site is being evaluated by the product team on a weekly basis. And all this kind of stuff is going right to the engineering team. We would love to have some kind of automated way to share that with customers, but there is a challenge. We do have a certain amount of restrictions, what we can announce on and what we cannot announce. And the way how we try to be the most effective on this one is by publishing an appropriate knowledge base articles to address the most important things. Another good tool I have probably forgot to mention is the Sitecore log analyzer. And whenever you utilize that tool, you actually provide a feedback to the Sitecore team on how successful your project is. Because it does the automatic analysis of the logs, and whenever we face any exceptions there, and you agree to share the data with Sitecore, it just goes directly to our cloud server, and it is being analyzed on a regular basis.
Yeah, I was looking more the other way around. Since you have already faced issues or people have come to you with issues, so just in case I land up in a similar issue, instead of raising a ticket and engaging you, I could probably browse through the knowledge bank or the wiki, and then if I don't find anything, come to you.
If you file a ticket and we already faced a similar one, you got it almost instantly. So but a kind of open source data, not for now.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, hi Maxime. There is one question here.
I'm trying to find. Yeah.
Okay. I saw your slide and it says that we can raise a support incident provided we are certified developer.
Not only, but that's
And,
a piece of the job to be done. Yeah.
Yeah, so there was a second thing that we should be employed.
Yes.
So what about the self-learning? If someone want to do some self-learning, he's certified, he want to do some self-learning, he's getting some issues. So won't you help in that?
Just to explain it maybe a little bit in a simple matter. So whenever there is a license purchased by the specific customer, that one includes the maintenance. Roughly speaking, the maintenance is the payment for the support. Whenever you can get from, like you have a client you work for, whenever you can get that license, and this is the last requirement to file the support request, you need a valid license. Whenever you can get that and file the support ticket with it, that's it. So we don't need your contract, like I'm name and surname, being employed. No, we don't need that. But we need you to work for a client with an active maintenance program.
So if you want to do self-learning, we're starting a developer trial. So if you go to sitecore.net/trial, you can request a developer trial. This is a 60-day trial, but there's no direct support from Sitecore support, so we'll point you towards the community. So this is also a reason why we do this kind of event. So you can go to Slack chat where all the MVPs are, and there's loads of people that will help you. So you're self-learning, so you need to work with the community and others to get you where you want to go. We do help you with free training, so there's a free fundamental training you can follow. So there's a path, but the path will not lend to support. So official support is based on a customer license, partner license, and an employee. Yeah.
Any more questions? If we have time. We don't.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, can I hear a big round of applause for Maxim? Thank you. If you do have any queries, any questions, we have a 15-minute tea break now, ladies and gentlemen. You could always catch up with Maxim. I know this is a very short break, so I recommend that you carry your coffee mugs and come back inside. All right? Thank you so much. I'll see you back in 15 minutes. Thank you.